All right, hopefully this is our final video here. What we want to do is make sure we celebrate the winner. And we'll do it very similar to what we did with the COVID cleaner. So in the canvas, we had created two text boxes, the player score, computer score. We'll place one right in the center here that will just pop up when we want to congratulate the winner. So what we'll do is another UI element, a text. So there, this is maybe, we can call it the sort of winner, and I will probably center it. So Shift and Alt right here. And again, probably center, that makes it sure it's in the center. Maybe change the color. We'll keep it white, just because that's what, what we've been doing here. I'll probably get rid of the truncating. I'll just make them both overflow and probably bump up the font size a bit. Something like that. I mean, what I'll probably have is either player win, something like that, or computer win. So if I put that on there just to see what it would look like, yeah, something like that. Okay. We might want to try to hide the ball or something. I think it will be out of the way, so we should be fine there. So we'll keep that in there, text, and of course, this didn't get changed, so we'll just call it winner text or something. There we go. Okay, so let's take a look at our code. Now we already had this end game, right? So where was it here? So yes, so if the computer score was greater than 2, we ran the end game. And I think we had the same thing up here. Yep. So if the player score is greater than 2, we have the end game. Now, what I'm going to do, though, before I do that, is come up to the top. And remember how we had our text for our player score text, our computer score text? Well, I'm going to create another public one so we can drag the other text in. And I'll just call that winner text. So we've got that. And now one thing that we might want to do here, just moving down, so if the score was greater than 2, I think we should, if the player score, so the player 1 here, I think we should put it so that we can personalize it a little bit. So what I'll do is, again, just put a little, sort of a argument here, which is going to be a string. Now we're getting an error because we don't have that string defined yet as a possible argument. So we'll fix that up in a minute, and we'll do the same thing down here. So if the computer is greater than 2, we will set that to computer. And we just want to be consistent. So I did a capital and I did a lowercase. So let me just keep that lowercase there. Now this is a little bit, you might have noticed that because we said greater than 2, it had to go to 3. So you might want to do greater than or equal to 2. Again, probably this is too low, but you can set that to 10 and then just make sure that that works. Okay, but we're just testing for the moment. So 2 is good. So let's go look at our end game, right? So we've got so this is not implemented at the moment. That's okay. We'll just get rid of that. And what we're going to do here is like we did before. So so we'll put here, we'll make a string, right? So they're going to bring in the string, and I'll just put in the winner. Okay. So this is sort of similar to what we did above. So if the winner is equal to, and what did we say there? Player. Then we'll set the win text. Okay, so what did we call it? Winner text dot text. We'll set that to just something simple. Player wins. Okay, you could say you won maybe, right? Because that's going to be the player. And let's just do another one here. If in this case the winner was the computer, right, we'll just set the text there. So winner text dot text, and we'll set, oops, sorry about that, text. We'll set this to, computer wins. Something simple. You can modify it if you wish, okay? Nothing too fancy here. One last thing that we'll do is, because we want to make sure that the text is blank. So again, just like we did in the COVID cleaner, I'm going to go up to the very top here, into the start menu, or sorry, the start function. Update right here, start. And so remember how we basically updated the scores here? Well, we should probably do the same thing with the winner text, right? Dot text. And remember how we did that before, just to clear it away? We used an empty string. So let's go back and take a look here. Save it up. And in Unity, okay, being slow, I'm just going to make sure that I clear that away. I just cleared that off there so I don't have any errors. Looking for errors here. Looking for problems. Okay, so the game starts. Oh, of course, my problem was I did not set this. So where is my game manager? I didn't set my text here, right? So winner text, winner text. Perfect. Okay, that always gets me. Try this again. Choom. Okay, that error is just from before. So it seems to be playing fine. Okay. Yeah, so it looks good. I'm going to lose again. And we'll talk about, in class sort of what we can do to improve this game. I'm just going to lose. Okay, computer wins. So it gets greater than or equal to 2. The computer wins. This error, like I mentioned, was just the one from before. There's actually no error in the game there. Perfect. We have a functional game. Like I said, there's a couple little things that we could do just to improve it. One thing, just thinking back here, is that perhaps, right, if the player might be able to move the ball and launch it from a different spot. That's a possibility there. There is a little bit of an issue if it gets caught. You'll find the game is a little bit dry because it's pretty hard to lose, so we might have to speed up the ball or something like that as we progress through the game. The player paddle, the computer paddle is a little bit unnatural because he's constantly sort of watching, right? So maybe only when the ball is headed in this direction, so when the velocity is sort of a positive velocity, maybe the paddle moves. I've had it so that the paddle only moves when it's in that direction and it's past halfway. So that could be an option. That makes it a little bit more challenging for the computer to get it. Otherwise, like I said, it's constantly monitoring it. It's, it's a little not too human. And that's always one thing that when you're programming the AI, right, is that you have to sort of program it with making it not so much a great player, but a good opponent, if you can sort of understand what I'm trying to say. You want the game to be fun. You don't want the game to be so perfect that the player the computer, right, where you're playing against always wins, right? So you have to sort of design it for that. That's something as a game designer that you have to keep in mind. And as a programmer, you have to figure out how can you implement that sort of fun to play type game. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that. Then, of course, there are lots and lots of other modifications. We'll brainstorm some ideas together. I'll show you different variations on Pong so that you could, have this as your base game, but then give them the option to play the modified versions. There's a lot that we can do, but the important thing is that you've got a solid foundation here with some good programming. It's a bit more sophisticated than what we did last time. And I mean, you can just see that with the added, amount of code here. The way we've put in this game manager is substantially different than the way we did the original COVID cleaner. The COVID cleaner was more to just get you going, showing you some, to get it to function in terms of putting on text and stuff. This, however, is a much better separation of kind of responsibilities, separation of code. it does not make sense for either the computer player, right, the computer movement, or the player movement to deal with the score. That's not the primary goal of those scripts. The primary goal of those scripts, right, and we've kept it pretty clean, is the position, right, and the movement. We haven't got anything to do with the scoring here. Now, the computer gets a little bit more complex because we have to find the ball in order to move, but again, it's all related. So what we're doing is sort of compartmentalizing, isolating the code into logical areas, right? The ball movement one also, it has a little bit where in its position it kills itself, right? It destroys itself, but otherwise it all does with the movement here, okay? The last run, right? The game manager has got kind of everything on it in terms of maybe what a referee would do, right? It maintains the score. It displays the score. It puts a new ball into the game if it's required. It knows who the computer player is. It doesn't need to know who the regular player is, but in our case here, but it could if you wanted it to. So we've got everything sort of set up, and then we've got a lot of, sort of parallel functions to deal with either the player score, right, and then also to do with the computer score. And then we've got a little bit of a coroutine to give it a bit of a pause, and then we've got this sort of end game function here. So overall, I think it's a pretty clean game and well designed. And like I said, your challenge is to make it better, at least make it interesting, more interesting, right? Start to play around with this, see what you can do to make the game better. And like I said, we'll talk about that in class. Good. So good luck with your modifications.